Hey everybody, David R. Becker here with BeckerArt, and today I want to talk to you about blurring your images and making a better composition and also giving your photographs and your paintings more depth. And that's one of the things you can do with photographs or when you're doing your value study and you're doing your study to see what you're going to be painting later on. And so what you're doing here is I have this photograph of these boats. I always point the wrong way, right? Here. So the boat's right there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take and blur the background. See these boats in the background here now? We're going to take those, blur them down, and suddenly you have dimension and you have more distance in this. And also you don't have much detail. And so detail, by blurring it, you get rid of some of the details, and a lot of the details actually. And it becomes like one area of medium tone. And this medium tone you can either push back into the dark part or light when it comes to no tan. Remember we were talking about black and white, and so what we're going to be doing here is you just blur it, make it a simplified value, because up here you have so much detail and there's a lot of light and dark all through there. But if I blur it, it suddenly makes it just one value, a little bit more of one value. I mean, yes, there are darks in here, but overall this is a middle tone, and I can make it a little lighter and then push it even farther back. So compositionally, this would look better, pushing this back, letting this boat right here, let that boat come forward, be the center of interest. And so that's a better composition than with like this one up here. All right, let's show you another example. And so this example right here, hold on, this example right here is of Cedarburg, Wisconsin. And if you look at our cameras nowadays, they're so good. I mean, it really can take everything in focus. Like, look at this depth of field in here. These trees back there in the distance, and this car, and even behind these people. It's very, very detailed. And I can bring it way up, and you can see, you can probably read the signs back there. But we don't want to do it that way because then we only have overlapping to show distance, and we have shadows in here, and we have a light and dark pattern. But what I'm going to do is I decided to this whole area in front here also is like way too detailed. And do I really need this big thing in there front? So I'm going to turn this to a horizontal instead of vertical. I mean, it would work this way. It could possibly work this way. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to blur this area. Let me just show you right here. I'm just going to blur the area. And let's bring this up a little bit. Wait, that's my arrow. So we're going to take this one, make this one small so we don't see this one anymore. Hold on one second here. We're going to get rid of that one. And we see what I had done is I took the trees in the background and I blurred them. And again, you can do this in photopea.com, Photopea. It's actually Photopea, I guess it's pronounced, but I like to call it photopea.com. And it's like Photoshop, and you could select this area and even see this car back here and all this stuff in the back. I just blurred it. Now I also, if I'm doing my value study, I'm also probably making this a lot lighter. I'm going to make that lighter and again push it back. It's a big area of light. I want that to be an area of light instead of a big area. Or maybe, I mean, this part could be a little bit darker right here, but not as dark as it is, because that way I can push it back. And pushing it back just gives me more dimension. And so I have, if you look up close, let me just make this really a lot bigger. And so if you can see how the people are in focus, the background is blurred. You know, this part is blurred. See, this part is blurred here, this car, this back here. And suddenly these people come forward, my center of interest, and people usually are the center of interest when they're in a painting. And so then we also have that better composition by making it horizontal instead of vertical, the picture. And I just, these are things that you're going to do while you're doing your value study. I do them on my photographs sometimes because you can use like a Photoshop program or photopea.com and just go in there and blur it and see what it would look like blurred up. But blurring is a great way of showing distance, and it's just really simple to put a blur on it or just make it so that you can't see what all the detail is in it. I don't want to see the detail. You don't need to see the detail. That's not the center of interest. So push that back, leave that alone. Even like over here where this bike is, you know, is that bike really important to see everything about that bike? And you can paint it with a little bit more detail, but keep it low in value then, and let it be not so important. Let your hard edges and your big hard edges and your contrast be right in this area where your center of interest is going to be. And that's a really easy thing to do. Really, I mean, when you take this whole area, it makes it easier for you to paint too, because do you need to see everything in that scene? No. So let's go back to this one just to show you that you don't need to have all this back here in focus and make it a decent composition and show depth. Yes, it does have an overlapping, but I'd rather see it blurry, and then you don't have to paint everything of that part anyways. So our last image is this one right here, and let me just show you. So we have a waterfall, and it's a lot of darks in here, and you know, it's not that much depth because everything's in detail. The background's in detail. I can see the leaves back here just as much as I can see the things in the foreground. And so what I did here is I just took and I blurred the background, and I also lightened it a little bit and lighten this area, and look at how suddenly that just bleeds off in the distance. And when I paint it, I wouldn't put every leaf in here. That way I don't get depth again. And so by just blurring it, blurring the background here, very simple thing to do. And you don't have to even put it in your value study. You just make this lighter and just keep it out of focus. And that way suddenly you have this tree coming forward, better composition, things go back and forth. And it also improves my composition by the waterfalls down here because I'm not seeing all the detail up here. And also by lightening, it does help the composition between the lights and darks and black and white, the no-tan that we've been talking about for many, many weeks. And so that all comes together as one area of composition. And so what we're going to do is, again, blur. You know, don't be afraid of blurring an area, and that way you don't have to put detail into that area. I mean, I could even do blurriness to like back here a little bit, just so I keep my eye away from it. So the corners a lot of times can be blurred also. So like the corner right here, you can blur that. You can blur this corner. You know, that just so your eye doesn't catch it so much, and that you see the whole thing is dimensional. All right, so that's a very easy way of composing a depth into your composition of your watercolors, and that's our tip to today. All right, and so follow me on YouTube here, and I go to my website at BeckerArt.net, and you can find that I put out a newsletter that this is going to be in, this little video will be in to show you all different kinds of tips on how to paint watercolors and a little bit of gouache I've been doing lately. All right, and so we'll see you on Thursday when we do a paint along on YouTube. All right, bye-bye.